Hey everyone, welcome to It's Factor Football. Let's take a look at some of my favorite value players in fantasy football right now. I'm looking at players that I feel are ranked too low according to ESPN PPR rankings. Let's start with quarterbacks. At QB 8, Caleb Williams. He's been ranked at QB 9 for a while, and he just moved up one spot, but I have him as my QB 5 in fantasy this year. I expect his floor to be 4,000 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, and at least 300 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. QB 16, Kyler Murray. Kyler should still run for about 500 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns on the ground, but now he's in KOC's system with plenty of weapons, including Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings, and TJ Hawkinson. I have him as a top 10 fantasy quarterback. QB 18, Baker Mayfield. I don't see how he can be ranked behind Tyler Shuck and an injured Patrick Mahomes. I agree there's a big tier of quarterbacks, but 18 is just too low for Baker. He's been very productive the last couple of seasons, and he's had a very good supporting cast in Tampa, which includes Emeka Egbuka, Chris Godwin, Cade Otton, Jalen McMillan, and Bucky Irving. QB 19, Jared Goff. I know he doesn't score any points rushing, but let's take a look at his last 4 passing seasons: 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns; 4,500 yards, 30 touchdowns; 4,600 yards, 37 touchdowns; and 4,500 yards and 34 touchdowns. What a value at QB 19. Next, let's move on to running backs, who I think are good values right now. RB7 and RB8 are Ashton Jeanty and Omarion Hampton. I understand the rankings here, but I think they will be just as good or very close to the 3 guys ranked ahead of them. I think Jeanty and Hampton will both finish as top 5 fantasy running backs this year. RB21, Bucky Irving. I understand the concerns with Bucky after being injured last season and the arrival of Kenny Gainwell, potentially stealing some receiving work away, but Bucky's a unique talent, and I'm buying into what we saw as a rookie. Kenny Gainwell's a great role player, but he's not going to scare me away from Bucky Irving this season. I have Bucky ranked as a top 15 running back. RB23, Travion Henderson. He's a big play waiting to happen and showed what he could do when he was given a bigger workload last year. I don't expect 20 touches per game, but why not 15? He's inside my top 20. RB27, Jadarian Price. I wasn't the biggest Price fan heading into the NFL draft, but he checks a lot of boxes as to what you look for in fantasy. He's a real life first round pick. He has limited competition in the backfield, and he's on one of the best teams in the NFL. If he looks the part early in the season, I think he could get close to 300 total touches. He should be closer to RB20. RB41, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Last season, he ran for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns on a very bad Washington team, and without star quarterback Jaden Daniels, making life easier on Bill. With a healthy Jaden Daniels, why can't Bill rush for 1,000 yards and close to double-digit touchdowns? I have him closer to RB25 in my personal rankings. RB44, Isaiah Pacheco. You can argue that David Montgomery's a better running back than Pacheco, but if Montgomery were back on the Lions, he would be nowhere near ranked RB44. So having Pacheco in this spot feels way too low. I personally have him ranked in the 30s. The Lions should score a bunch this season. And RB50, Chris Rodriguez Jr. He's played well for the Commanders in his limited opportunities. The Jags brought him over in free agency, and he has history with head coach Liam Cohen. I would not be surprised if he leads Jacksonville in carries and rushing touchdowns. Now we move on to wide receivers, and wide receiver 15 and 16, Devonta Smith and Teteroa McMillan. It's early, but right now this feels like a sweet spot. I have concerns with the number of players going ahead of them, including Rashee Rice, off-field issues in no Patrick Mahomes, Chris Olave, I don't think he'll repeat last season, his injury history, and the arrival of number 1 pick Jordan Tyson. I also have questions about Garrett Wilson and the quarterback play there, and the Jets did add 2 new first-round rookies in Kenyon Sadiq and Omar Cooper Jr. Then we look at Malik Neighbors. He may not be ready for a while, so I like both Devonta Smith and Tedoroa McMillan close to the wide receiver 12 and 13 spots. Next, wide receiver 23, Emeka Egbuka. He had a very weird rookie season, but showed what he could do early on. Then he was limited by a hamstring injury. Egbuka checks a lot of boxes that we like for fantasy. He's a real life first round pick, productive rookie season. He has the same quarterback entering year 2 and should be the number 1 wide receiver in his offense. Wide receiver 23 feels too low. Wide receiver 27, DJ Moore. Still just 28, and he has 4 1,000-yard seasons on his resume. He'll be the number 1 wide receiver in an offense that has the best quarterback in football. He needs the Bills, and the Bills kind of need him. This reminds me of Terry McLaurin's career year just 2 seasons ago. I have DJ Moore. It's my wide receiver 20. Wide receiver 35, Christian Watson. If you're honest, he's the most talented wide receiver on the Packers roster. When he's healthy, he's super productive. It's a big if, but if he can play the majority of the season, wide receiver 35 is way too low. I have him inside my top 25. Wide receiver 40, Chris Godwin. I think ESPN is too low on all the Bucs across the board. Chris Godwin should only be healthier this year, and he has chemistry with Baker Mayfield. I can see a high volume Keenan Allen type of season for Chris Godwin. It may not always be pretty, but I do think he'll be productive. Wide receiver 43, Ricky Pearsall. The Niners offense will score points this year, and Pearsall was on pace for nearly 1,000 yards last season. He's had an unusual start to his career, but he enters year 3 and has a big opportunity ahead of him. I like Pearsall about 10 spots higher. Wide receiver 51, Xavier Worthy. There was so much excitement surrounding Worthy entering his rookie season, and to think he'd be ranked wide receiver 51 is crazy. At this spot in the rankings, we're throwing darts, but if Rashee Rice misses time and Travis Kelce takes another step back, Worthy's the fastest man in the NFL and a real-life first-round pick. He's a nice late-round lottery ticket kind of player. Wide receiver 53, Josh Downs. He's a solid NFL wide receiver, and the Colts traded away Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce may be slow to start the season. Keep your eye on Josh Downs. Moving on to tight ends. Tight end 8, Tucker Kraft. All reports sound positive out of Green Bay, and that Kraft is on track for week 1. If that's the case, I'd probably move him up to tight end 3 or 4. Tight end 14, Mark Andrews. I understand the people that have moved on from him, but hear me out. Mark Andrews wasn't fully healthy last season. The Ravens moved on from Isaiah Likely, and Lamar Jackson has trust in him. I'm holding out hope for close to 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. Tight end 19, Kenyon Sadiq. The Jets should be scheming up touches for Sadiq right and left. He's a unique player, and they should have a plan to use him often and creatively. Tight end 19 feels too low. Well, what do you think? Let me know. This has been It's Factor Football. Thanks for watching.